From gas to subways to beef, it seems no industry is safe from ransomware attacks. The White House says they're working on it, but Republicans say President Biden's response just isn't harsh enough. Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
The world's largest meat processing company is back up and running after a ransomware attack forced the Brazilian-based JBS to shut down facilities in the U.S. and abroad.
Criminals are looking for their next meal, right? And in this case, if you look like a juicy burger, you're going to get eaten.
This, the latest high-profile ransomware attack after the Colonial Pipeline hack last month sent Americans panicking to the gas pump and brought one of the nation's most important fuel lines to a standstill. Plus, New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority also reporting they were hacked in April.
I would say that we have seen over the past several years ransomware becoming an epidemic. There is literally no company, no sector of the economy that is immune to this problem.
The federal government is beefing up its defenses and urging businesses, small and large, to harden their cybersecurity.
We can't do it alone. Business leaders have a responsibility to strengthen their cyber defenses to protect the American public and our economy.
The FBI said the JBS and the Colonial Pipeline hack were by Russia-linked ransomware groups, although not directly affiliated with the Kremlin. Mid-June, President Biden will hold a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Geneva. But Republicans say the president is rewarding Putin as bad actors in Russia continue to target U.S. companies.
We're going to give them this high-profile summit, a chance to legitimize Putin and embolden him. It's the wrong way to go.
The White House says President Biden will bring up the ransomware hacks with President Putin during their meeting, and he believes Russia has a role in stopping further attacks. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.